So my sister-in-law calls my wife up on Saturday and goes, hey, our niece, her daughter, isn't liking her pram anymore, and they need to transition to a tricycle that can be pushed around by an adult. My son has one, my littlest one has one, and he hasn't used it for a while. So my wife, being an awesome auntie that she is, she goes, yeah, sure. Yeah, you should be able to take it. Our little Noah wouldn't mind. When she told me that, I told my wife, hey, you need to ask for his permission, and he needs to know that he's letting this go now. He's very aware, you can't just give his stuff to other people, even if it's his own relative, it's his stuff. So I told my wife that, and she's like, I think in her mind, she still thinks it's okay. But in my mind, I was like, this is going to not go down very, very well, purely because I know he has similar characteristics to me. If someone took my Ferrari or someone took my stuff without me knowing, or just took it and they just gave it away, I would be pissed. So come yesterday, my niece comes over in the afternoon around 4 p.m. and my son sees that my niece is now jumping into his tricycle. And my son was not happy. He stayed in the car and he was having his own little moment where he was in the corner, just in the corner. He's in the front seat. He's just dealing with the fact that his mother just gave his prized possession away. Now, even though he hasn't used it, it's just like someone that has a really nice car who hasn't driven the car in ages. Someone just gave your keys away and you can see someone sitting in your driver's seat. That's what it felt like to me. Anyways, I let this all play out because I was still inside the house. My wife's calling for my son Noah. It's like, where did Noah go? And Noah is inside the car. I'm like, he's inside the car. He's having his moment. My wife then goes and grabs him and tells him, oh, can his cousin, our niece, have the trike? And he loses it. He said he's crying. He's holding his tears back, and he lets out a roar. He lets out a roar that is so heartbreaking that it actually showed my wife that he was in a lot of pain and a lot of distress, and he had so much anger. And I felt all of it. He deserved to be angry. He deserved to let it go and let it rip. And that was the first time I saw my wife actually was like, oh wow, okay, he is actually really mad at me. Because 99% of the time, he loves his mother to bits. But that moment, he had anger for her. Pure anger. Because she did him wrong. Real wrong. And yeah, so we just had to sit in the car. I said, look, you deserve to have that emotion. At 3.5, he knows his emotion quite well. And he was having one of those moments where, you really, you weren't on my side. You didn't see my perspective. And I totally get it. Even at 3.5, he deserves his own, that's his toy, that's his possession. And he deserves the right to know where it's going to be going and whether he wants to do it or not. Not just you just automatically thinking that it's going to be okay. And that assuming that, it's going to be okay is not. It is absolutely fucked up. Anyways, it's a lesson that my wife really needed to go through and to understand that you can't assume anything. You can't assume people's feelings, and you really do need to check in with them, and especially your child, if you're going to do something that, I guess, inconsiderate. It was inconsiderate of his feelings. That's what it was. So it was a lesson for my wife. It was a lesson for me. It was a lesson for all of us to not assume anyone's feelings, and you should definitely check before you take someone's possession. But the other thing as well is you start to realize that kids really know their emotions at a very young age. Very, very, very much so. And us parents and us adults soon assume that we know everything about them because they're feeling their feelings. So lesson that we're taking away from this right now is definitely do not assume that you know that child's feelings. You should definitely see it from their perspective. It's not this like you have to share a moment. No, it's like they have their feelings and they need to be understood as well. So yeah, I mean, it was a big lesson for our family. Even my in-laws, the parent in-law were there as well, and my mother and father-in-law saw his distress. So yes, hey, look, little Noah, we apologize. I apologize. I should have jumped in a lot earlier, but it's a lesson that mummy and daddy needed to actually go through. So yes, big lesson for all of us. That's my sharing for today. It's inspired me to just make sure that I check in and not assume anyone's feelings before. I mean, I'm not going to take people's stuff, but that lesson is definitely ask before you do anything stupid. All right. Have a great Monday. That's it for me today.